The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
We're on the open line today on Manx Radio. Call 66 13 68. Text or WhatsApp on 166 177. Email studio@manxradio.com. We didn't get to the question of the bus station yesterday, so maybe that's something we'll look at. But certainly Murray Kringle, you heard in the news, president of the Manx NFU, says he's never seen as many areas of agriculture feeling the squeeze as they are now. And also that worry about being dependent on imported food on the Isle of Man. I just bring your attention to two things, and that is the report that came out that said we only eat, or only 6% of what we eat actually comes from the Isle of Man. Only 6%. And also, let me take your mind back to COVID. Do you remember that parallel universe of COVID? And do you remember when the rumour went round and everybody zinged off to every shop and bought every bottle of bottled water that there was and all the pasta that was purchased? Now, if that sort of thing happens again, and we may say it might not, but it could. You never know. If there's some sort of shortage, and 94% of what we eat is brought to the Isle of Man. Can you imagine if we're at the back of the queue for stuff like that in the future? Of course, some people are still actually using the dry pasta that they bought during COVID, but that's another matter. Murray Kringle said the impact of global events and the challenges that producers face exporting their goods mean farming is getting harder. It's more expensive to export, and we come back to the old argument about the steam packet, whether or not the steam packet is in business as a social enterprise or whether it's a company. And obviously, Mr. Thompson and all the directors there are charged with making as much money as possible because the money goes back to Treasury. We own it, but it is run as a private company. And nobody really gets that much of a break. Certainly passengers don't get that much of a break. There's no discount for living on the Isle of Man. And certainly anybody who exports, anybody who buys space on the Manxman will tell you how much it costs. An awful lot of money. So we're caught in the middle of this pincer movement. We have a boat we have to pay for, and the people are tasked with making as much money as possible. And we have an industry that's crying out for cheaper freight costs. Well, if you have the answer, I suggest you stand for keys. Hey, what do you think about this situation with beach buddies? Some idiot, some parrot, decided to throw away 500 copies of the Isle of Man Courier. They were obviously being paid to distribute the Courier, that free of charge paper. Do you get one? I haven't had one for ages. But Beach Buddies found 500 copies of Isle of Man Couriers dumped in one of their bins at Blue Point, just north of Andres, along with 40 copies of the Best Business Guide brochure. Well, first of all, you shouldn't be doing that. The Beach Buddies bins are only for beach rubbish. So secondly, whoever did that has taken money to distribute the things. But also, what about the people who advertise in these things and buy space in them? A spokesperson for Media Isle of Man say that they're working with their distribution network to establish exactly how it happened. I bet they are. But the other thing, more importantly, is that Beach Buddies aren't paid for this. That's not what they're there for. Beach Buddies, volunteer organisation to clean up the beaches, and they turn up and find 500 couriers thrown in the bin. Well, I just wonder, I mean, it'd be nice to know who it was, whoever the person is who decided to lob them into the bin, because that's miles away. Luckily, it's miles away because it's a beautiful point at Blue Point, just by the shooting range there. So, who was it? Who did this? And if you're in the north of the Isle of Man, maybe this is why you've not been getting your courier for a while, because somebody's lobbing them in the bins. Oh, crikey, what do we do about this? And this whole nicotine thing. which was they're aiming to rush through at the moment, this new legislation to stop children being able to purchase nicotine products, closing a loophole over this expanding problem. We've heard about this when we do the shows from the schools. The students often talk about this problem in that vapes or electronic cigarettes were meant to be for old people. They were meant to be guiding older people out of smoking by vaping by these electronic cigarettes. It seems what's happening is for an ever-expanding group of young people, it's leading them into smoking. Because now, and particularly because they've got nicotine in them, nicotine dependence was one of the reasons that many people smoked like chimneys for years and years and years. The Cabinet Office Minister has attempted to get the nicotine products bill through both Keys and Ledgco in a single day, but was thwarted when Ledgco asked for more time to consider it. MLCs are due to meet next Tuesday, the 7th of July, where that's concerned. So, regarding agriculture on the Isle of Man, and I'm just trying to think through the members of Keys and Ledgco, we only have, I think, one agricultural member. I mean, Tim Johnston, I think, did have a farm, whether or not he's still got it, Stoward Farm in Sulby. We used to have lots of farmers in Keys and Ledgco years and years ago, so the agricultural industry was well represented in the legislature. Nowadays, not so much. Murray Kringle, then, president of the NFU, the Manx NFU, the National Farmers Union, says he's never seen as many areas of agriculture feeling the squeeze as they are now.
I've never seen so many sectors feeling the squeeze like they are. It's getting harder and harder. Now, you can't just keep pushing farmers, because in the end they will say no as well. I don't think it's fair to do it. I think we need to have some social conscience as well. And quite frankly, the Isle of Man looks like it does because of what we do and how we farm it. And whether it's for our mental health to enjoy just as we go around, or whether it's for holidaymakers, or whether it's for our biosphere, we are at the back of it all. And if government had to look after it like we do, I don't doubt it might have cost 5 or 10 quid more.
And you're talking locally, but what is the global conflicts and the global positioning having, is it an effect on the Isle of Man's farmers?
Yeah, all global happenings will have effects on us, not only on the market price, but on our imports as well, and our inputs, and whether it be fuel, which everybody's seen at the garage when they fill the car up. Well, we just deal in multiples of that on farm with our diesel, whether it be insurance, which is rising, whether it be absolutely any cost that a house has, we have it put in multiples off. So it affects us constantly, we watch it constantly, and we do the best to keep a tight belt on it.
And we talk about the fertilisers and sort of the cost of production on farm now, routes to market, all of these things are a real hot topic. How are we finding the routes to market for our islands farmers?
Routes to markets have been a concern to the union for a fair while. We have done a fair piece of work on it. We would like to see the ability to export product at a reduced cost yet. We do get some help. I'm hoping we can maybe get that squeezed a bit better.
Murray Kringle, president of the Manx NFU. It's really important what he said in there. The Isle of Man looks like it does because of the agricultural industry, the farmers on the Isle of Man. They're custodians of the countryside. They look after the land. And if the agricultural industry wasn't there, it would be completely different. So we have to make our mind up, really, don't we? Do we want a farming industry? Do we want the farmers, or don't we? There are problems at the moment. There are issues within the milk industry at the moment. Global prices go up and down, and the Isle of Man has to cope with that. The UK has been importing lots of European milk, and the Isle of Man, the creameries and people like that have to fight for space. Because when you have big supermarkets, and they are fairly vicious when it comes to buying practices. They know of what they speak, so they will cut anybody's legs from underneath them for a few pennies here and there. And we have to fight out for our place in that. So I just wonder what you think about this. Particularly, keep in the back of your mind that only 6% of what we eat is produced on the Isle of Man. Ever since milling wheat went, since Ramsay Bakery went, that we don't plant milling wheat anymore, so we don't eat our own bread. I know there are some artisan bakeries, but nothing like the volume that Ramsay Bakery used to produce. So that's gone. So what do you think about this? And particularly as things like food miles and carbon footprints are becoming more and more important. What do you think about this? Text, email, call, WhatsApp, and here comes Sue first with us today. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Andy. I wanted to talk about the new energy saving grant scheme that is. I've received an email not long ago from Net Zero, which I believe is part of DEFA. And they were listing the things that they are including in the grant this time. And one of the major things that's missing is anything to do with solar. But the cynical part of me says that in their email they declare that they are working with the MUA, which is obviously the electricity people. So the electricity people working with DEFA are not helping anybody with any grants towards anything to do with solar power. They are trying, it says in their email that they're trying to move towards more things that are cleaner heating. So it's more about heating your property rather than creating electricity, which is understandable. So therefore they're saying air source heat pumps. Now, air source heat pumps take a fair bit of electricity to make them work. So they're endorsing something that takes a lot of electricity, and they're not endorsing anything that helps create electricity. But not only do solar panels help create electricity, my solar system, I don't know whether David Quirk's does as well, but mine also helps top up our hot water, therefore reducing our reliance so much on oil, because we have an oil heating system, oil central heating system, and that heats our hot water in the winter. But during the summer, our solar panels help to do that. So the energy savings thing, they're working with the MUA, but not helping anybody to create any electricity.
You see, part of this is what they call, what's this trendy phrase? It's a barrier to entry. That's what it is. Particularly with anything that's energy efficient, surely the government needs to be lowering the barrier to entry, i.e. making it easy for people. And as you say...
And they're not doing that.
Well, it seems that they put up a barrier.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they have listed things like you can get grants for the insulation of your lofts, and towards, I think, your UPVC. I haven't got the email directly in front of me at the moment. I was trying to get it up while I was waiting on the phone, but it didn't come up quickly enough. But yeah, they're doing the standard things that they did previously in the grants. But as I say, they've moved completely away from anything to do with solar. But they are trying to concentrate on air source heat pumps. Well, air source heat pumps are quite niche, really. You have to have a certain amount of area around your property to be able to install an air source heat pump. In a previous property that I lived in, I had somebody come and have a look, and the area that we had there was ample for installing one. But if somebody's got, like with the new houses that they build these days, they are quite close together, these new houses, and there might not always be an area to put them, and also your property has to be quite well tightly sealed inside for an air source heat pump to work well. So a lot of properties won't be able to work very well with an air source heat pump. They'll be just ploughing lots of money into keeping the thing moving by using electricity.
And let's face it, they cost a fair bit of money, don't they?
They do. They cost an awful lot of money. I mean, so do solar panels, to be fair. So do solar panels. And with solar panels, you have to have the right sort of roof and the right sort of projection for the sun and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's like today, I mean, the sun's not out, but we'll still be generating some electricity.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, air source heat pumps are a different animal in themselves. And I just think that they're not going down the right path in saying that we aren't going to do solar, we're not going to give grants for solar, and it just feels wrong that they're doing that. And
also, remember, they're not that much use if you own a flat, are they?
Well, no, unless you have great big units on the ground floor, which, I mean, they're not supposed to be that noisy, but if you're a person living on the ground floor and you've got to, have some great big units that are generating air source heat pumps or
but that means that
for the
everybody in the block of flats has got to have these hermetically sealed units.
Yeah.
And all you need is somebody to open a couple of windows and go out for the week or something, then who knows what's going to happen. And the other thing is, remember, you can have solar panels on a vertical wall. If you've got walls that face particularly due south or particularly southwest, you can have solar panels on a wall. It doesn't have to be a roof.
Yeah, and if there's land as well, you can have frames built, like the solar farms. Yeah. You can have frames. They all sit on framework. Well, if you've got land or anything, big enough garden or anything, then you can have a framework built in your garden and things like that. But, yeah, they just haven't thought, or they may have thought about this, and the MUA may be saying, yes, we'll help you with this, but nothing to do with electricity. We don't want to encourage anybody else to produce any more electricity, because that's what we do, and that's where we make our money.
That's right. They charge out at 29p and they buy it at 9p, I think, if you've got
9p, yeah.
So that's nice work if you can get it. All right, Sue, we appreciate
just one more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Andy, I was listening to the podcast from Monday and Tuesday because I don't get the opportunity to listen to them live anymore on Monday and Tuesday. And I heard Eddie saying that he was in the throes of speaking to the prospective MHKs in his area, and he was asking them about their ideas on the Airy Stain. But he also said that he's secretly recording them. and then he sort of said, I didn't quite understand it, but he sort of said that if he could use it against them to say, well, this is what you said when I was talking to you, that he would. Well, that's illegal.
You have to tell somebody, if you're recording somebody, you have to say, I'm now recording you.
Yeah, and he said he was secretly recording them. Well, you can record somebody, but you cannot use it. You can only listen to it to yourself.
Well, it wasn't that much of a secret because he told everybody, didn't he?
Exactly, yeah. But he didn't tell the people at the time that he was doing it. So if he used it in any manner whatsoever, apart from listening to it himself in his own private capacity, then that is quite illegal. And I don't want anybody else thinking that they're allowed to go around recording people, either, like you say, without letting them know they're being recorded, or using that for in public or media or anything like that, because it is very, very illegal.
Okay. All right. Good to hear from you, Sue. Thanks for being with us today.
No problem. Thank you.
Bob dropped a note in. This is Bob, who said that UK farmers don't get subsidies like the Isle of Man farmers. Well, we're not talking about the UK, are we? We're talking about the Isle of Man. And they do get some subsidies. Isle of Man farmers do get some subsidies. And but they're in trouble, and that's all there is to it. And they're not an industry that... I know the thing is that we do have a view that you never see a poor farmer. They'll tell you, and of course you don't see a poor farmer because they're normally working. An island that, as an island, we should be applauding Gary Cluett, MLC. Anything he said recently makes so much sense. This is regarding gazumping and gazundering as well. He talks sense, a breath of fresh air. Why doesn't he stand as an MHK? Says Gary. How much does it cost per container brought to the Isle of Man? If we said for a long time, now it's a steam packet that sets the costs of living on the Isle of Man. Well, they're in that sort of business. It used to be, is it £1,500 for an articulated trailer, for a trailer? Is it £1,500 or is it a bit more? I wish I had a courier, says Manx Will. They haven't been delivering in Peel for ages. My pal in Port Erin hasn't had a courier for years. It just isn't good enough from Isle of Man Media, what used to be Isle of Man newspapers. Plus, we should be printing here on the Isle of Man. Well, I'm afraid that horse is long gone. The island is starting to be able to do nothing at all. Every sector is being squeezed out by 2030 agendas. I've never read one of those. Anyway, if you do get a courier regularly, please tell me. We'd like to. Probably the advertisers would love to know as well. Peter's on now. Hello, Peter.
Oh, hello, Andy. It's Peter Murcott here. Just to pick up on a couple of things that were said yesterday.
Yeah.
First of all, about the question of applying for your license, your car license, and having to go to the vehicle licensing centre. I heartily agree with the points that were made by Howard. I recently relicensed the car. Now, I went to see them, and it took a fortnight for the thing to come through, whereas when we used to get it from the post office, you could get it straight away. Now, for me, it doesn't particularly cause a problem because I was relicensing the car well in advance, but I do think about folk who are perhaps have to budget. Suppose, money's a bit tight for them, then when they come to relicense a car, like mine was due at the beginning of August, they might, in the old days, they could go, say, a week before, in accordance with their budgeting policy, and get the license straight away. Now, under this new system, they wouldn't get it, and so it's very unclear what would happen. I mean, would they be off the road for a period of time? Would the police accept the fact that they got a receipt from the licensing centre as being proof that they had made efforts to relicense? It's very, very unsatisfactory. Now, when I went and queried why I hadn't received my renewal it was a fortnight later, they did say that they'd had an unexpectedly large number of applications. Now, this tends to show the lack of wisdom in suddenly changing the whole system. You see, as Howard pointed out quite correctly, I mean, they seem to imagine that everybody's online. And even if they are online, I'm not, but I understand from some people you've got to have, sometimes you can't access everything unless you've got the correct technology. And I think it's a very unhappy way in which the island's going of taking an assumption that everybody's online, which they're not, and then making life very difficult for people who, I mean, I just live in Douglas, and it isn't a problem for me to go to the licensing centre, but what about if I lived up in Bride? I've got to travel a long way just to go and license my car, whereas previously I could have gone to the nearest post office and done it. So full marks for Howard for pointing that out, and I just hope somebody takes notice. Now, the second thing was, I rang you some time ago, not too long ago, about this question of prospective MHKs not being allowed to say anything about the question of the proposed windmills going around the island. And I did point out, now I'm sure you'd be glad for me to point it out again, that I know of nothing that stops a person from saying it. Isn't a question they're not allowed to say it. As I pointed out before, the letter that went from the Attorney General just simply said that if a person took a position that would disentitle them from sitting on the decision-making body about the application that's going through at the moment for these windmills, the decision-taking body will be the new Council of Ministers, and nobody knows who will be on that. But there's nothing whatsoever, and I've reread this letter several times from the Attorney General, which I've got a copy. It isn't dated, but it's one that went to all MHKs. It says, "Dear Honourable Members." There's nothing to stop people answering. it just means that they wouldn't be able to sit on the decisions. So I hope that there's enough listeners who will get that point and will tell the prospective MHKs. The other question that rises in my mind is this. I don't know when the letter went out, but what about people who have already taken a position before the letter went out? Do I assume that they would be disentitled then because they've already said whether they're for or against? That's an interesting point. Just crossed my mind. Of course, only the people in question would know if they've already taken a position. Yeah. But I hope that that's made very, very clear, because I think the general election is lackluster enough without having a complete misunderstanding to inhibit further discussion.
So why do you think the government got themselves into this pickle? Because they should have known that a general election was going to sit across this whole process. The thing is, the Act was passed in 2016. It wasn't passed recently, and the Act, I went to the Tynwald Library and read it. It's quite a complicated piece of legislation. The Act says that the final decision would be taken by the Council of Ministers. And again, there's misunderstanding on this. I've talked to one or two members of the House of Keys who thought they took the final decision, and they don't. It's been delegated to the Council of Ministers. Why they did that, I don't know. Nobody picked up on it, I presume. I just think it's a very unsatisfactory position. It may well be that the decision ought to be taken by someone other than members of the government, I suppose, and then people in the government could say quite clearly where they were coming from. The other thing that worries me is that it's very, very clear that there's a lot of public feeling about this, and I don't think it's healthy for democracy for the subject not to be discussed, especially at a general election time. Okay. So, well, that will bear restating again. So just spell that out. The reason people can, or prospective candidates can, evince an opinion. However, it'll rule them out. Just give us that again.
Yes, the position is if they take a position on it, for or against, then when the application comes before the Council of Ministers after the general election, and that's when it will come for a decision, if they became a minister, they would be unable to take a decision on the application. If there aren't enough people on the Council of Ministers, they have the power to select to invite someone to join them for that decision. But again, if they were to have already taken a position on it, they would be ineligible to be invited. Whether they'll have difficulty in finding people who have not taken a decision, time will only tell. I do wonder that, because it's been a much discussed subject.
Okay, appreciate your point of view. Thanks for calling,
thanks,
Peter.
Andy.
All right, bye-bye now.
When the Mannin Line's not on air, call Manx Radio to leave your opinion for broadcast on 682 631.
At Pagode Cattery, we've been caring for animals for over 50 years. As a cattery, we care for our customers' cats and treat them as our own. Visit pagode.com or call 321 989.
Construction waste today.
Tells recycle for another day.
A builder skip or two.
Tells Skips will bring to you.
At Tells Skip Hire and Waste Disposal in Snugborough, you only pay for the waste you bring. For waste disposal and skips, give us a call on 677 137. That's 677 137. Visit Tells today or find Tells Limited on Facebook.
Call Tells Skips today.
677 137.
SMS Trading. New and second-hand furniture from flat pack to fully built. See our range at 3 St Paul Square, Ramsey. All island delivery and man in a van service available. Call SMS Trading on 315151 or find SMS Trading on Facebook.
Crow Isle of Man Chartered Accountants. Remember when you used to get business advice from your bank manager? Stiff upper-lipped pillars of the community whom you called Sir? Nowadays, you can get all the advice on every business issue from the friendly, down-to-earth chaps at Crow Isle of Man. And some of the chaps are even women. Imagine! Crow Isle of Man. Global presence, local knowledge.
Crow Isle of Man. Crow.im.
Bigger jackpots, more prizes, more chances to win. There's never been a better time to play the Hospice Lottery. We've now doubled the number of guaranteed monthly cash prizes to over 100, which means you now have the best ever odds for winning prizes. Plus, our monthly rollover jackpots build up to an incredible £10,000. Tickets are just £5, so don't miss out and help a great local cause too. Visit hospice.org.im now. Players must be over 16. Terms and conditions apply.
Wimbledon 2026 is now underway, and here on Manx Radio we're celebrating by serving up strawberries and cream to workplaces around the Isle of Man. We'll be out making deliveries for the next fortnight, and if you'd like us to visit your workplace or a place of work you think deserves a sweet treat, all you need to do is fill in the nomination form at manxradio.com. Entries close this Friday morning at 10 o'clock. Serve up some Wimbledon fun and bring a touch of centre court to your workplace with Orchard Recruitment, Tesco and Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Hello, Juan's with us now. Hello, Juan.
Oh, hi, Andy. I wanted to get... If Sue has woke Quirky up about his solar panels, we're in trouble. Naughty Sue. I'm looking there at 300 calls a week to the STD clinic, Andy. Did you see that yesterday?
I did, actually, yes. I'm trying to forget it, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, the queue on the phone must be longer than trying to get on the Mannin Line, wasn't it?
Well,
yeah. And no wonder you can't get parking around Finch Road. It's terrible, isn't it? Listening to David Ashford there as well, talking about, what did he say, discussed the advertising for vapes to younger people. Yeah. Totally agree. Absolutely, that this type of thing is directed at younger people. I hope said MHKs as well look at the teaching and promotion of pronouns to young kids in schools and other stuff like that as well. As soon as we're talking about unhealthy stuff. Talking about agriculture, I noticed Finlay MacLeod has just announced his retirement from the Creamery.
Well, he's been there a while.
He has been there a while and done a damn good job as well. I just hope that the next person that comes along can do as good a job at promoting Isle of Man creamery and cheese as what Finlay has done around the world. He's done a fantastic job. I mean, obviously he's got a team of people around him as well. But let's hope that that keeps going. And you're talking about agriculture. Again, a key part of this has got to be the costs of getting the produce to market and getting it off island. And again, we're back to pricing on the steam packet boat as well to keep the farmers going and keep business going. I think there's so much costs put in the way that it's prohibiting farmers doing what they do best. Farming should be, helped out by government, not farmers per se, because I believe there's quite a lot of farmers getting subsidies to help them not farm because of these agendas that's coming up. I mean,
and as you say, that's the story that gets out. But remember, there are lots of farmers who they're renting the farm, so yes. They're not making all the money from having all the land, and they're not the ones that can sell off parcels of land and get planning on it. There are lots of farmers who rent the farm and work all hours that God sends, and many more as well. So there are many misconceptions about. But the point I make is that farmers aren't normally around to moan because they're normally working, and particularly this time of the year they're up at first light and particularly when the harvest is going to come in, they'll be working after dark. So somebody needs to speak up on behalf of farming, as you say, and we don't seem to have many advocates within Tynwald.
No, we don't, and I think we need to get that back on par again. I think there's a couple of farming people standing this time, so maybe we need to get that back on par. But we need the will of government to actually promote and help farming, not farmers per se, but farming. And we don't seem to have that will inside there because, again, someone mentioned this 2030 agendas, and again, that's just a year, but this agenda playbook of where it's heading is not healthy. And I think we have to look after our own. We have to make sure we've got food on the table over here, and the farmers are an important part and always have been part of our community and structure over here. You know, and you mentioned the willing meat there, the milling wheat. And again, you know, no farmers are doing that. They're changing their land over and farming something else. And there's a call for this. I've said this before in this programme, and I've mentioned it to Claire Barber. There is a call for the quality of the milling wheat that we have here. You know, people like Allinson's want it. So what is the problem? Because they turn around and say it's logistics. Well, the logistics is just the price of the boat, and we own that anyway. So I don't get what the problem is. There's a blockage somewhere in the system that's stopping this working efficiently.
What do you say to the people then, Juan? The fact is that we all know that Ramsey Bakery, the loaves used to be more expensive than other loaves, and lots of people will go automatically will go for the cheapest possible. You know, Manx milk is more expensive than other milks. Manx bread used to be more expensive than other breads. So what do you say to people who will just go for the cheapest possible?
If you actually look now at the price of milk and cheese in the big supermarkets, comparatively, there's not that much difference, Andy. And the quality that we're getting, you know, the farm to fork attitude and the quality we're getting. If we look at bread, I mean, bread was only a fill-up substance right at the start when it was invented, is to fill people up to go to war. But the quality that you're eating is terrible. I mean, if you went back to a piece of bread, a cheap piece of bread in 2 or 3 weeks' time, there's not a piece of mould on it or a piece of green. So what are you eating?
That's the key, isn't it? Yeah, and I've found that it's funny that home-baked stuff that you have is going mouldy within 4 or 5 days, but all that stuff that's packed full of preservatives, as you say, is fine after a week and more, even in this weather.
Well, absolutely. And it goes back to the old saying, doesn't it? Give us our daily bread. I mean, that's what it was, because it only lasted for a day or a couple of days. And the quality, again, we have to offset that against our health service of again, what people are eating. You know, there's so many younger people now with allergies and addictions and wheat allergies and all sorts of stuff, and that's down to the quality of the product that we're eating. So, you know, that has to be offset and again against health and everything. And I mean, when I went out to the anaerobic digester meeting a few weeks ago when Robert Murray was there, and they're talking about growing stuff in polytunnels if we can get the right energy source. And again, that's a way forward, is you know, if we can get the right energy source on the island, I'm hinting back at geothermal here, to make farming boom. We could actually make farming boom with massive polytunnels and actually be a provider to the UK.
Well, I had a note in from somebody saying that on the island of Guernsey, you can only buy Guernsey milk. You can only buy it, you know. And I mentioned this jokingly a few months ago. The fact is, because people who grow spuds on the Isle of Man, we used to be famous for our spuds, and now very few people grow them because they can't make a penny doing it. So, why not something, like you can only buy potatoes on the Isle of Man that have been grown on the Isle of Man. You can only buy milk on the Isle of Man that's come from the Isle of Man. It's one of the things, they could ring fence certain industries by just enforcing something like that.
Did they not have that, Andy, and got rid of it? They did have. I mean, we had the meat derogation, and we had flour which had to be bought on the island. You couldn't bring it in at one time. So that was protected, and they got rid of it. So this probably is years down the line, is the product of that. Our farmers are suffering because they haven't got the protection or the ring fencing. Okay. So it's a difficult call, but we are where we are now, and I think the farming industry is getting worse everywhere. If we can protect our own, we're going to have a quality food source here. We've got good water,
and that's
we can get good flour.
That's the point. We're not selling a brush that doesn't sweep. Our food is fantastic if we can grow it ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other point on the heat source pumps, someone was on before talking about heat source pumps. I've spoke about this before. The type of housing that we have in the island, or the majority of our housing is old stone housing. The heat source pumps don't work. They do not work efficiently. I looked into this some time ago with a stone-built house I was working on, and it doesn't work efficiently. The key has always been insulation. The key is insulation. The heat source pump will not work without insulation, and that there's got to be no hot spots, cold spots, all that kind of stuff. And then you've got sweating up the walls. The walls need to breathe. So they were promoting like spraying stuff onto walls. Well, if you do that, your wall can't breathe. You've got to let your walls breathe. So the heat source pumps, I don't think, work for a majority of the houses that we have on the island.
Okay.
Insulation is the key.
All right, thanks for calling today.
Take care, Andy.
Good to hear from you. Peter's got nothing to worry about, said Desmond. When you buy a licence, road licence, car licence, vehicle licence, it goes online. Even if you haven't got it, the police can see your vehicle is licensed. And David's with us. Hi, David.
Hi, Andy, and I've got to thank Sue 100% there. And just for the listeners, I do have my electricity goes into the water as well, so I get double the thing. And I'm 1 kilowatt producing and 35%, and it was 35% yesterday when somebody asked, I wonder how much is in the battery when it's overcast. But getting back to DEFRA and this report that's coming out, and it is, I haven't seen it, but I'm led to believe it's all to do with heat source pumps, air source pumps and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, she needs to be challenged regarding that. Why did they come to that solution? I have no idea why they came to that solution, because the easiest thing is PV panels and putting them on the roof. Okay, maybe all the roofs don't face the right way, but eventually, the sun does move around and you get some, don't you? And there's no incentive, as far as I know anyway, looking at it a little bit, regarding producing or giving us discount on batteries. That's the biggest thing. When I put my live electrical system in, the guy said to me, who I know quite well, the whole team actually, they said to me, it's up the best batteries you need straight away, and put the panels on the roof and you'll last forever. And it was done, but we're coming up to a new government, and are we seeing any differences from the politicians to say what are they looking for the future? When we're looking at old technology, insulation and stuff like that, that's great if you haven't got it, but when you've got tons of it and you want to store electricity, what do you do with it? You put it back to the system like I do.
Yeah.
And Mr. Wallingberg gives me 9p.
9p, yeah.
Manx Utilities. We need to get him on before the election anyway, and even the DEFRA minister, and just say, well, why did you produce this to do air source heat pumps when, quite rightly, one of your listeners just before just said, probably 50% of the properties in the Isle of Man are stone built, not good for air source heat pumps. All right.
Okay, good to hear from you. Thanks for that, David. It's 13 minutes before 1, and David mentioned Mr. Wannenberg. John Wannenberg is standing in the constituency of Douglas North for the election on Thursday, 24th of September. One other candidate so far has declared, and that is Hugo Yates.
If you have children, pets or a house, talk to Peace of Mind about a will or power of attorney, which will help family members when it matters. Prices from $199 plus VAT. Find us on Facebook or call 632 610.
Manx Mobility in Onken have it all. Daily living aids, wide-fitting shoes, rise recliners, beds and scooters, including lightweight and airline-approved models. Call in and see how our expert team can make your life easier. Manx Mobility at the top of Summer Hill.
The Granite Centre in Laxey. For complete kitchen renovations, replacement worktops, and with over 35 distinct styles and finishes, there's a Kuka instant boiling water tap for every home. Call 612287 or visit thelaxeykitchencode.im today.
Corkhill Storage, Corkhill Storage. Call Corkhill Removals and Storage today. We'll store your goods day after day. Safe and secure around the clock. When it comes to storage, we do the lot. Click CorkhillRemovals.com.
Here at Q Plus, we're not just blue, we're green. From smart boilers to heat pumps, Q Plus supply products from the leading brands in renewable energy for a cleaner, greener home. So call into Q Plus on Snugborough Trading Estate, the island's largest independent plumbing and heating merchants for trade and retail. Or call 673 131 to talk to our friendly experts about the latest cost-effective products in home heating and find out what we can do for you at Q Plus.
The Isle of Man Symphony Orchestra's exciting summer concert will feature the William Tell Overture, Elgar's Enigma Variations, music by Bizet, and Grieg's ever-popular piano concerto with soloist Dominica Mack. An evening of brilliant music in the Villa Marina Royal Hall on Sunday the 5th of July at 7:30. Tickets on sale now.
The countdown to the 2026 general election is officially on. On Thursday, the 24th of September, you'll get to have your say on who should represent you in the House of Keys for the next 5 years. But what are the things you really want to know from your candidates? How they feel about wind farms, what they do to improve healthcare, or how they plan to tackle government efficiency? Whatever it is, if you have a burning question for those standing, we want to hear from you. You can find out how and everything else you need to know about the upcoming election on our dedicated election website. Just head to manxradio.com.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
10-1, and by the way, it's a shame, but well done anyway. Billy Harris, former Isle of Man tennis competitor Billy Harris, lost in the men's singles at Wimbledon yesterday. He was beaten, although he went a set down. He came back to win 7-5 in the second, but lost to Mr. Kachikanikov, who won the third 6-3. So well done, Billy, as well, and fingers crossed for next year. And I think we've got Surface Agent X20 with us now. Eddie, how are you?
How are you doing? All right.
Okay. You don't work for the CIA, do you? You're not recording everybody, are you, Eddie?
First of all, I do ask permission just to react to Sue's comments.
Right.
But the whole point I was trying to make yesterday, I think you'll understand when I say it again. I'll just give you a scenario. If I'm quite well known that I'm against the wind turbines, so we've got a few new people standing for election here. Now, to gain my vote, all they've got to do is promise me that they're against them. So they got my vote. And yet the minute they get in there, say they get in because of these votes, they change their mind because the Chief Minister says, no, come on, we all need to stick together. So it will be a pointless effort for them to kid me. But I just want it from my own personal catalogue so that I can go to them after if they do change their mind and say, you're a little liar. Do you understand exactly where I'm coming from?
Yeah, you must. How many recordings have you got?
3. Okay. I'm waiting for the other 2 to come. But like Peter said, the way they're doing it all, the Attorney General seemed to be running scared when he did this. He's just trying to hush everybody up. I can't understand them. Like Peter said, it's not looking democratic, is it? When you're telling people you can't say this and you can't say that.
Well, they're not saying they can't say it. What they're saying is if you do say something, if you say you're against the wind turbines, you've got no hope. If you're giving an opinion, you've got no hope of getting... You won't ever become a minister because Comin, the Council of Ministers, has to make the decision on the wind farms in the end. And what they're saying is if you've given an opinion before, you can't hope to be... unbiased, as it were.
Yeah, which again is, in my opinion, undemocratic. What should have happened, and they've already done this, they've already said to the public, you can't have a say in the election by having a referendum on it. So they're saying the public can't have any say in it whatsoever. We're going to leave it to Coleman. So God knows what's going to happen. They may have already said, oh, this is what we're going to do, and we'll cover our tracks by not allowing them to say this, not allowing this to be done. It's just everything about it, like Peter said, and everybody else around us, it's not democratic. Simple as that.
You're not recording this, are you?
I am indeed.
Thanks for calling, Eddie.
I love you. Okay, mate.
6 minutes before 1 on Mannin Line. I've got to say hi, by the way, to Tim. Hello, Tim, in Elmer, in West Sussex at the moment, he said, Cox's orange pippins are green. Yes, I know they are, Tim. I think that's some sort of code. I can't think what is. Anyway, Tim, good to hear from you. Just what's happening to the old Lord Street flats, says this correspondent, 692. They're just empty, sitting there. Well, I believe somebody's bought them, haven't they? So it'll be going through the planning process, whether or not they're going to drop the things. Although, what's going to happen to Shawsbrow car park when they drop those? They're not leaning on each other, are they? I'm sure we'll find out. Some keep going on about the elderly being discriminated against when things are moving online. People in their 70s like me and in their 80s were in their 30s and 40s when computers became normal in the workplace and home. I had to keep up in order to keep in work. People are entitled to choose not to engage with technology, and obviously some older people did, but don't include us in that. It was their choice years ago not to engage with technology, but there should be facilities for them to use another method, says Sue. If an MHK is open about their views on wind farms, they can't be involved in the planning decision. How is that democracy? How is it fair to people, says Mark. Well, it's just the rules. Thank you for clarifying about farmers, says Andrea. They work hard for very little return, contrary to public opinion. And this is the thing, Andrea, in that obviously, everybody likes to keep their own business to themselves. We all like that. But lots of farmers are in trouble. And I'm sure they'll forgive me for using those words. They're facing all sorts of problems. That Sunday night around the kitchen table, looking at the two columns, one that says income and one that says outgoings. And the last one is a lot bigger than the first one. And as Murray Kringle said, it's been a long time since there have been this many problems. Here's a note from George who said, why don't they just start planting Jersey Royals on the Isle of Man? They seem to be fetching a fair price. Well, I don't know. Anybody can tell me that, why we can't grow Jersey Royals on the Isle of Man. Why do some people believe that a Manx producer is far superior than products from any other country? Is it a myth to try to encourage locals to buy Manx produce? Well, the carbon footprint is a lot less, isn't it? And you have to make your decision. Do you want agriculture on the Isle of Man? Or shall we fold up the tools and go away? Anyway, tomorrow we're talking hospitality. Jed Power, hospitality professional, is on. Hospitality tomorrow. Thanks for Michelle on the phones today.
WINT